for tuning in today. This is our second podcast of the Hope podcast. Hope stands for helping our people excel, along with my partner Fernando, and he is with Black Biz LA. So everybody, continue to tune in and to plug in with Black Biz LA is doing. We have a special guest. His name is Richard Pillay, and he's going to talk about the current grant opportunity for your nonprofit and your small business. So we really got some exciting information, and just to kind of share what this podcast is really about. Um, it's been on my heart for quite a long time, to really share and work with nonprofits. I'm in the space now of working with nonprofits and businesses. And so I wanted to, I come across many nonprofits that always ask me, hey, how do you do what you do? Where the funding, and the goal is with this podcast, is to create an atmosphere where new, existing, and those that want to become nonprofits, we want to give um, a different perspective on running your nonprofit. It is not easy, ladies and gentlemen. As much as you may think that somebody says, hey, start a nonprofit, you get all this money, that's not necessarily true. There's a lot of regulatory with the feds and your local state who you're with, whatever state that you're in. And so a lot of nonprofits actually get in trouble because they're not doing it right. And so we want to be able to educate nonprofits in that space. We're going to continue to have guest speakers like Richard coming along, and other people that will talk about grant writing, grant proposals, and what we do best. So, if I didn't say already, my name is James. My nonprofit is Covered Community. Again, I'm so excited to be doing this. So, I'm still a little nervous with doing this kind of by myself without my partner Kimberly. She does. We do some other things together, so I always have her in mind. But so today we're going to discuss the California Relief Grant. As of I guess the last 18 months or 19 months, there's been a push to support small businesses throughout the United States. We know with the economic downturn, I recently read a report. Well, I can't say recently, but it was back in July. It was in the National Geographic, and it said that um, almost 500,000 African American businesses throughout the United States are no longer in business, right? And so you can just imagine, it's just not our community, it's through the small business community as well. And so there's been a big push for the government to support to support the small businesses, because truth be told, it is the small businesses that actually run the country, not the large corporations, even though they're at a different type of scale. But it is the small businesses and the small nonprofits that actually do a lot of the work. We pay a lot of the taxes, and we hire a lot of the people, believe it or not, right? And so, what we want to do is to educate you on these various things that you need to do. And then, what my specialty is, right? I love working with nonprofits, talking about strategic alignment, right? It is so important that we as nonprofits collaborate, and I can't stress that enough. That is how I've been successful in what I've done, even though I'm very small, right? Um, I've been able to collaborate. Right, I've collaborated with various organizations. And as a matter of fact, I had a major healthcare plan to call me this morning to say, "Hey, James, are you still doing the health, enrollments and fairs, and do you still have connections?" And she was asking all these various questions, because I, at one point in time, I was doing that for about from 2013 through 2017. My focus for a covered community was around health, right? And so I've kind of shifted. I still that is still my foundational, but now I've expanded into working with nonprofit collaboration with and working with small businesses, coming up with strategies, talking about contract and procurement, with various, your local agencies. And so this is where, if you're a nonprofit, if you're offering any kind of services, this is another way to have steady income, and not have to depend on grants, which are very hard to come by. But if you can imagine you being a nonprofit that serves your community, whether it's helping the homeless or the reentry population, and I can really speak to that really intently here in Los Angeles, because we have a huge homeless population and an issue. So I know I'm in that mix of hearing, how can nonprofits help, even if you, and how the churches. I've been reached out by the county of Los Angeles, say, hey, can you help us gather some pastors together, because we have an initiative where we would like to use their parking lot for the homeless, right? You have people that actually live in their car, and right, and so they want them to have a safe space, right? And so I was able to put together about 20 pastors, and we met with LA County and talking about how could we utilize their space during the week. um, so I get those kind of calls all the time. And so, as you know, Richard, I just have this giving heart, so it doesn't do me any good to hold this information,
Mhm.
because I know we work so much better, if we're collaborating. And so that's the key. That's what my mentors speak to me about collaboration. I've seen the power of 40 organizations coming together under collaboration, and we successfully won a 5 million, 10 million, $20 million contract from, local, state and federal, right? So I've been a part of that, and so I see the model for it. And so if we that model is collaboration, everybody eats, and it's the strategy behind it too. So now imagine a grant that comes out, and you have 10, 15 organizations all going in, even if they do the same thing, and say, hey, we as an association, we're going to apply for the grant. We're going to write the proposal in such a way, right, that states that. And so, what I do know, because I've spoken to and have been in many meetings with grant decision makers, right, and what they're looking for is collaborative efforts. They're tired of giving to one particular type of organization, um, and they're looking for collaborative efforts. And so I know, like the organization that I sit on the board for, when we got those major grants, Richard, technically when our 40 organizations came together, we probably represented over 100,000 people, and that's more than one particular organization can help
Mhm.
in a city, right? So
Mhm.
we covered the statewide, right? We broke we have a statewide strategy. So we have 7 regions throughout California. So now we're telling them in our proposal, hey, we have 7 regions. We have this many organizations in each of the regions, and they serve each of these communities. They serve the Latino, they serve the Asian, they serve the African American. And so that's more attractive than, right? And so we won out every single time and beat out the normal people that would normally get not saying that the other organization that didn't win was bad, right? We just had a better strategic and more purposeful way of distributing those funds. And so that's what Hope is about. It's about bringing together nonprofits and for-profit businesses, and let's talk about strategies, and how can we really connect with the community. And so that's what I want to deliver. That's what's on my heart. And so, enough about me, everybody. I want to introduce you to Richard Pillay. He is the Senior VP. I'm happy to say that. And if you don't know what Senior VP is, the Vice President of Impact and the community lending. And I've known Richard. Wow, I think I met you in, it was probably 2010 at the Bob Hope Patriotic
Oh,
Hall.
yes.
And
Yes.
Lillian Conroe from the governor's office says, "Hey, I need you to introduce you to Richard."
Right.
And I think you were with CDC.
Small
another
business training.
organization. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we just started talking, and our circle got smaller and smaller. We started
Mhm.
running into each other. And so excited not only to know him from a business perspective, but on a personal level. And so he's here to share with you for those that are, and there's a deadline next week for
Mhm.
this California Relief Grant. And that is for businesses and
Mhm.
nonprofit. And guess what? I applied and I received $5,000. Right, I got it back in I think May of this year. So I did apply. It does work. You have to have your stuff right though.
Right.
But Richard, take it, bro.
Sure. Well, James, thank you very much for that kind introduction. I'll try to live up to all of it that you said, because what I tell people, look, my own staff, I tell them, don't let the SVP fool you. I am a head cook and chief bottle washer in this kitchen. Okay, let's get it done. We are here
Right.
to serve small businesses at Ampac Business Capital. The company, I'll just tell you real quickly about my employer. Ampac Business Capital was founded by an African American female back in 2014. She was the first, and we believe probably the only, at least confessed, right, faith based community development company in the nation, certified by the
Wow.
SBA. So she's a certified faith based CDC, community development company. First, and again, probably the only African American female. I'm also proud to say that she just purchased a building in Ontario, California
Oh
at
wow.
3110B Inland Empire Boulevard. It's about 3 traffic lights east of Archibald Avenue in Ontario. It's under renovation. The renovation is supposed to be completed this coming week, so we're very excited to invite audiences to physically come visit us when the time is right. We know we're in COVID, we're not ignorant of that fact, but come and visit and see what we've done. And within the building is not only our team that does the lending, but we also have an entrepreneurial ecosystem, is actually what we're calling the building. And a part of that ecosystem is what's very critical to small businesses, for profit or nonprofit, because we are a nonprofit, by the way, providing lending for profit businesses. And we're here to help small businesses start, grow, and expand in their communities. Yes, we're located in Ontario, but we can serve the entire state of California. So, depending on where this podcast is being seen, please listen for our information that James will share at the end of this podcast. Contact me, contact us. Let's see how we can help you. What do? We do loans from 5,000 to as much as $30 million. I'll clarify that for you. There is different products that we do. There are SBA products. We're also a CDFI, Community Development Financial Institution, which means we have the ability to do lending as authorized by the U.S. Treasury's office. We can provide lending to small businesses as well. So, what the names of the products are really not what I'm finding in the 12 years I've been doing this as important to entrepreneurs as the fact that, can I access it? Can I get access to capital? We strive to getting to the yes. When banks are saying no, we're going to try to get to the yes. And if we can't get to the yes, we're going to say not now. And here's a path for you to get to the yes by working with our partners. We're working with the SBDC, Small Business Development Center system, funded by the SBA. We're working with the Women's Business Center system, also funded by the SBA. Working with SCORE, service corps of retired executives. Remember when SCORE, James, used to have S period, C period O?
Yep.
They would say SCORE now, but that actually is an acronym for Service Corps. Um, oh boy.
Right.
Oh, Service Corps of Retired Executives. There we go. SCORE.
Wow. I never knew that. I never
Yeah,
knew
yeah,
that.
Service Corps of Retired Executives. So these are retired folks, again, funded by the federal government to provide technical assistance to small businesses in all sorts of areas and all sorts of industries, actually. So they will have a place in our ecosystem. And then Cal State San Bernardino will also be there. Those are physical residents, if you will. Technical assistance in residence will be in the center, but then we're contracting with organizations like yours and Kimberly's on the
Hmm.
contracting side. We'll be contracting with you to teach businesses about contracting, and we're bringing in other more professional technical assistants. I shouldn't say more professional, as if the government people aren't professional.
Right.
Erase the tape.
Business.
Fernando, if you're there, cut that out, okay? Um, We just want to, what I'm trying to express is that we're working with a high caliber level of people that our tax dollars are paying for or making available to everyone so that you have the opportunity to start, expand, and grow. You start, grow, and expand. When we think of expansion, we think open up other locations. We think maybe moving out of a leased space and buying your own commercial real estate. That's what I want all of us in this audience to think about. How do I buy my own property? How do you do
Right.
that? We can help you with government lending. Not here to talk about products of our company. Just wanted you to know that we're a mission-based oriented company. We are a nonprofit, so we understand nonprofit, and we're here to help. What we're here to talk about today, though, specifically, as James has mentioned, and hopefully you heard the alarm loud and clear when he said this expires next week. That means the doors close, the lights go off. What did Chick Hearn used to say? The eggs are warming, the
The
light is off
Jello's
in the
jiggling.
kitchen, the jello is hardening, right? The eggs are
Right,
warm,
right.
cooling. I'm sorry. The eggs are cooling, the jello is hardening, the door is closed, right? And the light is off in that refrigerator. September 30th. That's the date. You cannot apply after September 30th. The opportunity will close. Let me make you aware that the opportunity has been open since December 30th. Our current governor, Governor Gavin Newsom, authorized in total $4 billion worth of grant funding to small
Repeat that
businesses.
again.
4 billion with a B, right?
Billion with a
They
B.
like to do that
Wow.
on the TV. Billion with
Right.
the B. $4 billion was made available through the course of rounds that James was an awardee of. $4 billion. Who was that $4 billion for? Nonprofits, for profits, and nonprofit cultural institutions. So you might as well say everybody that's doing business in Los Angeles. Do you have to be in a brick and mortar? No, you could be in your home. You could be a home based business. What was the key to the program? One, apply. Two, what are the qualifications? You needed to have been in business prior to June 1st, 2019. I'll say that again. You needed to have been established since since prior to, so basically May 31st, right? 2019, established. The pandemic hit a lot of people hard. Businesses were shut down. This grant was here to help those that were most impacted by the pandemic, hence the title of the grant, California Small Business COVID-19 Relief Grant.
Hmm.
So I'm not going to go in particulars about the program except to say some highlights. And then James also has a flyer that he's going to share with all of you that if you'd like to attend one of the webinars that I'm conducting every day, Monday through Friday, 2:30 to 3:30, I have a webinar that I'm conducting that will go through all the details, how to apply, literally the steps you'll take in applying on the application on your computer, the documents that you need, who's eligible, who's ineligible for the grant, what questions will be asked of you, information you need to upload, you name it. In those 60 minutes, I will tell you everything you need to know. And I encourage those that are watching this podcast, do apply if you're a small business. Now, let me give you what's most important as you're sitting there saying, well, should I, could I? One, you need to be a legal business in the state of California. And that means you're either licensed by your local city because you're conducting business in that city. That city would like their taxes. Now, you're not paying on your revenues, of course, but you're buying a business license. You're saying, I'm in business in your city. The other qualification is if you are, you could establish, have incorporated, or set up some type of entity in some other state, but now you're operating here in the state of California. You just want to make sure you also have a business location in the state of California. So you can't be an online business where you're established outside of the state of California, got your certificate of good standing to, excuse me, a certificate of authorization to conduct business in the state where you are, but you're considered a foreign entity, and yet you don't have a physical location. They want a physical address. Okay. And then lastly, what are the grant levels? The grant levels are 5,000, 15,000, and 25,000. So these are the most salient points that I want to give you. 5,000, 15,000, 25,000. The operative word here to apply for this grant, it is free. Everybody loves the word free because you can't say it without a smile. Is it taxable? Oh yes, it is. Because remember, this is state money, right? So we will pay taxes. You will pay taxes on the grant, but let's
You got to
recognize
add it
you
to
didn't
your
pay anything.
income, right?
Right. You didn't pay anything to get this opportunity, and it's 5,000, 15,000, or 25,000. How is it decided as to who gets what? A couple of factors. One factor is annual revenue. Please hear me when I say this. I'll say it slower. Annual revenue. That means the top line of your tax return, not the bottom line when your tax preparer, you told your tax preparer, I want to pay as little taxes as possible, and he or she zeroes you out or shows a negative, right? No, no, no. It's annual revenue. What did you gross? How much money did you gross? If you grossed between $1,000 to $100,000, you have the opportunity to be eligible for $5,000. Yet you only had annual revenue of 1,000. You can get 5,000. That's not bad. The next level, the 15,000 level, is 101,000 or $100,001, basically over
Hmm.
100,000 to $1 million. You have the opportunity to be eligible for a $15,000 grant. Not bad for about a 30-minute investment in time. And then
Right.
finally, if your revenues are between $1 million and no more than $2.5 million, you can be eligible to be considered for a $25,000 grant. That's not bad. James, let's wait for a moment. Give it a couple seconds for the applause.
I got to get
Right.
the applause button. So I'm working on all that. Once I get this podcast what I need to
Nice,
be, you will have an applaud button, brother.
nice. And you're not applauding me, ladies and gentlemen, viewers of this podcast. You're not applauding James. Well, we're applauding James because he's giving you the opportunity to learn this information. But we're applauding the system. We're applauding our governor. We're thankful that money is being made available by a grant. Now, let's conclude this with this. The grant closes next Thursday, 5 p.m. The portal will close. You will not be able to apply. This will be over. As we mentioned about Chick Hearn's little expression, is literally over. This has been open since December 30th. $4 billion is being distributed. The mathematics on how the system scores is very complicated, by the way, and the algorithm changes every 10 seconds, 24 hours a day, because they're constantly scoring applications. Over
Hmm.
400,000 small businesses in the state of California applied for grants. And guess what? There's still money available. That means you. I encourage you to apply. You have till next Thursday, once again, 5 o'clock. I can't say it enough. And there are webinars. I'm hosting webinars every day. James will provide the information to you, 2:30 to 3:30, Monday through Friday. Come and learn, be encouraged to apply, and follow through. Thank you, James. I hope that helps you and your audience.
Yeah, I mean that
What questions do
helps,
you have?
Richard. Yeah, that really
Mhm.
helps. I
Sure.
mean, the fact that that you one, I was when I talked to you this morning, I
Mhm.
was shocked that you're going to be doing this thing live,
Yes.
right? You're
Yes.
training on how to. So that's a big plus. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a big plus for Impact. And not a lot of organizations are doing a live training on a how to, right? And so this is what I love about Impact and Richard and Miss Hilda Kennedy, is that their organization had thought about you because they know that sometimes our community, for whatever reason, either don't get the information or we're just so busy trying to run our program, we don't understand the information. And so, I was talking to somebody this morning who never even heard about this, the
Wow.
grant itself, right? And I'm like, yeah, man, you need to call, right? And so after this call, right, you guys need to be on that 2:30 p.m. Um, uh, live with Richard, right? So Richard's going to go live, right, with Impact. And so, can you give us the website? So right now, I don't have the capability of putting the information in. If Fernando can, if you can do this, if you're listening, Fernando or Mecca, if you can
Mhm.
type that information. If not, I will give you my email address, and you can contact me or Black Biz LA, and we will make sure that that is up and going on our social media platforms after this is over. So please forgive me for not being that tech savvy. I got to work
Mhm.
on that. But Richard, give how can they contact you at Impact? Give the office number and slowly give your email address and the website.
And website. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So let's see. I'm trying to remember the order in which you asked me to give you the information. I want to be respectful to our audience and say, see, I did exactly what he said. I didn't go off the
Right.
rails. So what I'm doing is the phone number for Ampac Business Capital, the main number is 909 1706.
Repeat that again, Richard.
I was going to say, I'll repeat that one more time. And that is 909. And you know what's funny? I just want to double check. Yeah, 909 915
Right.
1706. I
Okay.
apologize. I'm so used to talking to people live that I don't, and I say, I'll send you an email. So no one ever
Right.
says, what's the phone number? They all want to email me and then ultimately ask me in the email, when can we call and talk to one another? So 909 915 1706. We're Ampac Business Capital. And thank you, by the way, for saying Hilda Kennedy's name. I always say an African American female president and forget to say, and her name is.
Right.
Well,
And
let's
her
keep
name is
going.
right.
My email address, R as in Richard, P as in Peter, A as in Apple, L as in Larry, L as in Larry, A as in Apple, Y as in yellow, at Ampac. That's short for American Pacific. So at least that's what I say it's short for because it makes it easier to remember. Oh, Ampac, AMPAC. So that's R as in Richard, P as in Peter, A as in Apple, L as in Larry, L as in Larry, A as in Apple, Y as in yellow at ampac.com. You can reach me there. And as far as James, you were asking about the website, what you can
Yeah, the
actually
website.
do, they
Okay.
can go to our website, go to www.ampac.com. If you navigate yourself to that website, you'll see on the very first screen, it's going to say relief loans, see relief loan options. Just depress that button and you'll scoot down and you will find the California Relief Grant, California Small Business Relief Grant access there. If you'd like to get information on the webinars where James said maybe he can provide it, through this medium. If he cannot, when you go to our website, if you go to events, and what I'm doing is, in case you're wondering, what is he doing? I'm looking at my own computer and I'm navigating, so I make sure I'm giving you the exact user experience. If you go to
Mm-hmm.
events and you scroll down on events, you will see the dates of the webinars, and they're every day. Again, 2:30 to 3:30. And it's also reminding you that the application date closes on 9:30, September 30th.
Wow. So let
Hope
me
that helps.
ask you a question, Richard.
Please.
I think while I have you, I'd love for you to, because you are and you and I always talk about, small businesses, and what you do and how you do it.
Mm,
Give us some insight, right, on what
okay.
a small business and or a nonprofit, what we should be doing during this time, prepping ourselves, thinking outside of the box differently, uh, or even inside the box, right?
Sure.
Give us some insights, right? What would you tell an existing business, or a nonprofit?
Sure.
Mhm.
What I would say to existing businesses or a nonprofit in this environment is be innovative. Be innovative. Because we're in an environment that we've never been in before, and we've been in this environment longer than anyone ever expected. I mean, former president and current president, and every governor, everyone's thinking this will be over soon. We're recognizing that COVID is not going away anytime soon from the numbers that we're seeing in the hospitals and every season that we run into, especially the winter. Dr. Fauci is already talking about how it's going to be a dark winter. What we want to recognize is you're a small business owner. You need to be innovative in this environment that says, how can I do things differently to reach the audience I've been reaching with my product or service, or expand that audience during this time?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any type of marketing through messaging on your phone? Are you marketing in social media sites? Are you, email campaigns? Not to say that it's archaic. I'm not saying that at all. But many people are not really checking emails as much as they are checking through their social media sites and looking to see what social media sites are telling them. Podcasts like this, get an opportunity, say to the host, excuse me, will you do a series maybe where you're talking about small businesses in their own industry? What are they doing differently, etc.? Think innovative. The possibilities are infinite for those businesses that are trying things in a different manner. People say pivot. You can call it a pivot if you'd like, but my point is pivot doesn't indicate innovation. I'm
Right.
saying maybe it's time to develop something new in your business offering that you hadn't done before, but perhaps you were thinking about. The entrepreneurial mindset I have found, I've been working with entrepreneurs and thousands of them for the past 12 years, is I'm going to say we, because I do the same with James all the time. He says, start your own business. I will one day. You're always looking and saying, if I had the ability to, or if I just had the money, I would do this. Well, capital is available to you, but we in our communities especially don't understand how to access capital. And we typically use crowdfunding, family, friends, and fools. If you help me give you money, I'm going to make it work, right?
Right. Right.
And that's fine. That does exist. But what you want to do is what I would say is be very strategic about your innovation. Think about your business, understand your numbers. Talk to the person that's doing your books. I tell small businesses, you may not want to be the bookkeeper or the tax accountant or the CPA. I understand that, but understand what they're reporting about your business.
Mm-hmm.
Learn your profit and loss statement, what the different lines on the profit and loss statement mean, gross revenues, cost of goods sold, inventory, etc. All of this transfers from that onto your tax return, so you might as well know what's between the lines. So when you get excited over annual revenues that said, look, we made $300,000 this year in your annual gross revenue, and then your net revenue is zero, and you're feeling good because you wrote a lot of things off, that's great. But when it comes to accelerated capital, meaning that you're able to get a credit card, a business credit card, you're
Right.
able to get a business loan like we offer. When that line says zero, we have to do a little bit more work to figure out what did you write off, allowable by the tax system, absolutely allowable. However, no one explained to you that's not to your advantage. This is a capitalistic society here in America, and part of capitalism means paying your share of taxes. Yes, I know the bigger companies, oh, well, Google and Apple and all these guys don't pay taxes. Absolutely, I get it. But they employ thousands, millions of people that are paying taxes. So, in essence, they're paying into the system through their affiliates, through their teams, etc. So money is being brought to the community, brought into the American economy. Thank you, James. You said earlier about small businesses, the importance of small business. We
Right.
appreciate these major employers. However, the SBA reported that 62% of the U.S. economy is generated from small businesses. 62% of the
Wow.
U.S. economy. So that means, despite the fact that you're small, you and everyone like us, are generating more for the US economy than the big businesses that everybody's pointing their finger at saying, I want to be like them. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be like them, but are you on the innovative path that will take you to that level? And that level, it's in the stratosphere. It can be achieved, but it's going to take time. So the question
Right.
is, how do you accelerate, excuse me, I'm from New York, so there's that X, accelerate. How do you accelerate time? You do it by an infusion of capital. You bring in today the money that could take you a year to earn or 2 years to earn. When you say I need $50,000, well, how much are you generating in annual revenue? So I'm generating 20. Well, now you're looking at 2.5 years to get 50. What if you were being responsible in your credit behaviors, using other people's money? OPM, very important. We want to lend based on the fact that it looks like somebody else gave you money. Or if you're just getting started, we want to know that you're paying your bills, your rent, your taxes, etc. Right? We're looking for responsible behavior.
Right.
And then we say, finally, James, what is the income you're making now that demonstrates the ability to pay my loan right now? I love to use for those of you who are old enough to remember Popeye, there was a character in Popeye called Wimpy. He's a heavy-set guy that had on a suit, dark jacket, wore a
And
little
love
hat,
hamburgers.
loved hamburgers. And he would walk into the hamburger stand, and what would he say, James, when
uh,
he
uh,
walked in?
I gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today.
Bingo.
Right. Right.
I share that because it makes people laugh. James has beautiful teeth, so I want everyone to see his teeth. That's what a good dentist will do for you. So if there's any dentists in the audience, do your work pays off. But on the serious side of things is we need to understand that if we gave you the money today, like that hamburger, you can pay me back 30 days later, one
Right.
payment at a time for 5 to 6 years. No,
So,
no.
Richard, let me say this, and we'll
Sure.
go another few minutes. Right.
Sure.
you and I always talk.
Hmm.
Now, everything that you just said the last few minutes, I need you to bring it down just a notch.
Okay.
Meaning, let's talk about, let's not make it so technical because I know people, I'm not a technical person,
Sure.
right? So it's just like,
Sure.
okay, what we got to do. I understand it, right?
Hmm.
But, you know, I always have these private kinds of conversations.
Hmm.
What should we really know? I mean, in getting started, what are the
Hmm.
resources, right? Because you
There you go.
mentioned the scores.
Hmm.
How does a business um, attempt to survive, right? And they're
Hmm.
not knowing where to go, what to do, right? Where should we go? First, I want you to call Impact, right? Because they do have, they're set up in a way to support small businesses. Um, but how do we, as nonprofits and or for profits, and I know
Hmm.
a nonprofit is very difficult,
To lend to.
yeah, to lend to. You have to have
Hmm.
some major dollars. I've seen it done. The
Hmm.
organization that I was a part of, we did, we had to borrow some money, but we had it coming. So
Hmm.
Wells Fargo, oops, I
Hmm.
shouldn't have said the name,
Right.
but the lending institution,
Hmm.
they saw it. And it was really the network that
Yep.
allowed that to happen. So
Hmm.
first of all, but what do you say to a small business? You know, hey, we need you to have certain things in order, right?
Yes.
If you don't understand profit and loss statement, if you don't understand these various things, here are the importance of having. And if you don't have the money to hire an accountant, where
Yes.
can we go? What should we do to
Yes.
get counsel?
Yes. I'm going to go back to James. Thank you. I'm going to go back to what you said in the beginning of this podcast. You
Mhm.
talked about a network. When you said that, I said, okay, let me make sure I hone in on that at some point. And I was waiting for you to tee me up on that because we do talk all the time. It's so important not to exist in a silo. You're a nonprofit. This is what I do, and that's it. All I know is me and the two or three people. It might just be you working in your nonprofit. It's important to have a network, a network that you can collaborate with. So now that network becomes a collaborative. I know I can call on James and say, James, tell me about how you started your nonprofit. I think I want to do it too. Who did you use if it wasn't you? It's very important to ask very directed questions to people because we're not going to think of what all we should tell you that's going to be beneficial to you. So ask questions. When you ask a question of a person, it indicates interest. Oh, wow, you're seeing me as a source of information for you. Now you're telling me what to tell you. So be prepared to ask questions. Be prepared to find out where the assistance is. The federal government and your city government are great places to start. You can go to the city business office, or they might call it the economic development office or the economic development department, which I used to work for the city of Los Angeles. These departments are set up to oversee all sorts of social need to meet, excuse me, all sorts of social needs within the community. If
Mhm.
you're looking for someone to train with you, you can go to the Economic Development Department to give you technical assistance. Besides the federal organizations that I mentioned, you can go to your own city and say, who provides assistance for businesses? How do I get licensing? How do I learn more about my business?
Right.
Who can I get referred to, etc.? Those are resources that you can find in your local city government, and they can direct you to the federal government, or you can go to sba.gov and find a lot of your organizations as well. But then there's so many larger organizations. Center for Nonprofits is
Yeah.
another nonprofit organization that's there to assist other nonprofits. And there's
Center
so
for
many you
Nonprofit
can name.
Management. Yes.
Management, right?
Hmm.
So, oh, and a matter of fact, lastly, when we were talking about resources, Venturize, VENTURIZE.org. If you go to venturize.org, that is the search engine. James, I'm not sure if you knew about Venturize.
I didn't.
Venturize is hosted by Small Business Majority. So you know the folks at Small Business Majority.
Got it.
Venturize is a platform, like it's like a Google platform for CDCs and CDFIs across the nation.
Oh
So
wow.
no matter where you live, if you want to find one local to you, because it has a mapping component to it, so you can say within 3 miles of my home, where is a nonprofit, a CDC, community development company, which I talked about, CDFI, which I talked about, where are they in your area? And you can go to those organizations because we are funded by banks, by the government and private investors to do what we do, which is serve you, keep you from being confused. So, collaboratives, resources, make them a part of your network, someplace you can call. Find out when there's meetings in the lane that you're in. Is there a plumbers association? Is there a chefs association? The local chamber of commerce. Be a part of your local chamber of commerce, because there you can network and meet more small businesses like yourself, because we're here to help you, our
Mhm.
organizations. But you may want to say, well, I want to talk to another plumber. Where's the local plumbers association? Where are they? Or some group in what you do.
Right.
Google that and see what are call it even networking groups. Look at Meetup. You can go to Meetup and figure out where people that are like me meeting and talking and congregating where we can exchange ideas. It's all a
Right.
part of the relationship building process. Because if I talk tools, if I said make sure you have a balance sheet and you have a profit and loss statement and cash flow statement and what? Let's start with the basics. Responsible credit. Be prepared for somebody to pull your credit report. Everybody will look at the information differently. That's another podcast, how that's reviewed. Make
Right.
sure your credit is responsible. Make sure you're paying your rent for you personally as well as on the business side. Keep these things current. Those are your responsibilities, utilities, etc. Make sure all that's responsible. And lastly, I think the most critical thing I've shared with people is the hero story. And then I'm done, James. I'm a huge fan of DC and Marvel comics. Love the comic books, love the movies, especially because the comic books come to life. What's endearing to me about it is just like a small business owner, you recognize that you have a skill that you didn't know you had until you got under pressure. Lost my job, and somebody said, well, you love to bake. Why don't you just start baking and selling goods out the back of your car? Yeah, okay, might as well. You love to tinker. You ever thought about getting into plumbing, be an apprentice, etc.? They recognized that they had a power that they needed to share with somebody else, help themselves, but then share
Right. Right.
somebody else. Why? In Spider-Man, Peter Parker said, with great power, he was told by his uncle, with
Yeah.
great
Mhm.
power comes great responsibility.
Right.
The gifts that God has given you, you have a responsibility to share with somebody else. Zig Ziglar said, if you do what you love, you'll do it for free. But you will do it so well that people will be willing to pay you for it.
Wow.
Take that gift, take that responsibility, monetize it, and create a legacy for you and your family and change your community. Thanks, James. Hope
Wow.
that helped.
Richard, wow, that was just, I mean, that information was great. Those words of encouragement was great. Um, everybody, again, you know, Richard gave you his information. Reach out to myself and or Fernando. We will have that. So sorry I wasn't able to put it up on the screen. But please reach out through us through Facebook. You can follow me at James Rolfe on Facebook or Covered Community on Facebook. You can reach out to me. Please reach out to Fernando on Black Biz LA on Facebook. We will have this information out. We will have that flyer out. And so if you can, I'm gonna see if I can do a quick screen share
Mm,
of today's of the of that flyer, Richard. Let me see if
sure.
I can pull it up. No, that's Netflix. I don't have Netflix. Let's see. Oh, here. Oh, here we go. So this is it. Can you see this, Richard?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, so this is the California Small Business COVID-19 Relief Grant. Last chance to apply. This is round 9. You see it
September
open,
30th.
round 9, open up
Yeah,
ninth,
see it right underneath.
ninth.
Round 9 ends September
Yeah.
30th.
So Ampact and Richard, he's hosting these live
Hmm.
webinars on how to apply, what you
Right.
need to do, and how you qualify.
Yes.
So I do apologize for getting this to you so late, but please apply. Right, I will
Yes.
post this. You got the registration. It's from 2:30 to 3:30 Monday through Friday, and so
Hmm.
the last day is or the last we should say webinar is
Webinar
next week,
next
which
Wednesday,
is September next Wednesday, September
29th.
29th. So please, 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 everyone, this information is here. please share it with everybody that you know. Uh, and Also, hey, Richard,
Yes, sir.
can barbers apply for this? So give us
Absolutely.
the different types of categories. 'Cause I
Sure.
believe, right, solopreneurs can
Yes.
apply.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. We go over that during the webinar as well. So the
Okay.
spoiler alert is no, no, no. You asked the question. I'm not going to say, oh, okay, ladies and gentlemen, go to the webinar and learn yourself. I will tell you now, everyone can apply that's in business. If you file a tax return or a schedule to your tax return, maybe you're an individual, you're an Uber driver, a Lyft driver, so you're in the gig economy. That means you filed a Schedule C. You're telling the
Hmm.
government, I've been working and I've been paying expenses and I want to reduce my tax burden, etc. Everyone who's operating a business legally can apply, and those businesses that are recognized by the state, not the federal government. I share that to say if you're in a sexually prurient industry, or if you are in cannabis, or maybe you're not selling the cannabis in and of itself, but you support those in cannabis by paraphernalia, etc., you're not eligible to apply because those businesses, though legal in the state of California, are not recognized by the federal government. But everyone, if you've made at least $1,000 in annual revenue, please apply. The
So
algorithms
a
will.
photographer who does this independently can
Yes,
apply. Okay.
absolutely. You
Okay.
name it.
What about musicians that sing for a living and they can prove that?
I definitely say apply because, and let's define proof, not the albums, not the
Right.
social media.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
but
But
look
based
at
on
all
their
these people
income.
that love me. Show us your Schedule C. That
Gotcha.
means you told the government. If you told the federal government you exist as a business and you offset your taxes because of it, offset your income with the taxes because you did it and the expenses, etc. Yes, apply.
So a barber, someone who works at
Absolutely.
or a hairstylist, they can
That
apply.
stylist in that salon does
Hmm.
carry a 1099. I can't emphasize that enough. You have to be able to show that you had a document that says you earned an income under someone else and you reported it on your taxes. That's your Schedule C. And if
What about
barbers and hairstylists
somebody
are
that?
listening and they're not filing
Yeah.
Schedule C's, you need to file Schedule C. Go ahead, James.
What about a home-based business?
Home-based business can absolutely apply. I can't say it
Okay.
enough. Make sure that Schedule C is attached. We funded daycares. I mean, I've actually given loans to daycare businesses, and the daycare was
Whoa.
at somebody's home, but she filed a Schedule C. She can prove that she had income and she had expenses and she paid taxes.
Wow. Okay.
That's the key. That's
Okay.
the key.
Wow. Well, Richard, again, can you announce who you are, give your phone number once
Okay.
again,
Okay.
and then we will end the show.
Well, I hope that everyone enjoyed the show and got valuable information from James and
Yeah.
I on
Thank you so
today.
much. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
appreciate the opportunity, James. I would not leave you and Fernando. Thank you both so much for your support and asking me to come on. It was been a pleasure. My name is Richard Palais Jr. I am the Senior Vice President of Community Lending for AMPAC Business Capital, where, by the way, we say making access to capital is as easy as A, B, C. So thank you so very much. The phone number, if you want to reach out to me, is 909 915 1706. And then finally, if you say, I don't like to call, don't have time to call, or you're probably busy, Richard, as a Senior Vice President of Community Lending, no problem. Send an email. R as
Right.
in Richard, P as in Peter, A as in Apple, L as in Larry, L as in Larry, A as in Apple, Y as in yellow. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Wow.
Thank you,
Thank
James.
you, Richard, for joining us, especially with the
Oh,
short notice. I
what a
appreciate it.
wonderful
I know your
audience.
busy schedule. I know you're on lunch too. Thank you so much. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And tell
Absolute pleasure.
Hilda, Miss Kennedy from the CEO, tell her thank you so much for allowing you to share this information. And we really
Thank
look
you.
forward to, having you guys on
Oh,
more often too, as
sure.
we, start this and grow this podcast. So thank you so much.
Awesome, James.
Appreciate you, brother. And
My
I will
pleasure.
talk to you later. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining. I'm your host, James Rolfe. My nonprofit is Covered Community. And thank you for joining the Hope podcast. Hope stands for Helping Our People Excel, where we work and talk about nonprofits and small businesses. So please continue to join us every Friday. We're going to really be kicking some things up to the next level. Next week, we're going to be focusing on, we're going to probably have our grant proposal writer on board. We're going to start talking about how to start your nonprofit, and try to dispel these myths and thinking that you're going to get rich by doing this nonprofit. So we're going to have more structured talks every Friday, that will be specifically for what it is that you're looking for. So please join us every Friday. Thank you so much, Richard. Peace and blessings to everybody.
God bless.